we'll start with the second chapter. So what we had finished yesterday, we had discussed about the hydrogen spectrum, and hydrogen spectrum was the basis for the starting of Bohr's model. That because in hydrogen spectrum we were not obtaining continuous spectrum, it was discrete type of spectrum. That is why it was assumed that quantum nature of radiations, and based on that Bohr model was there, and few points of Bohr model we had discussed. One point was regarding the energy or the energy of the orbits, that orbits have fixed energy and that energy is acquired by the electron. Extra energy is given to the electron only when it absorbs energy from outside and jumps from lower energy level to higher energy level. Then the value of radius for the first orbit of hydrogen was done 52.9 n square picometer. Okay, n is the number of orbit. As the orbit number will increase, the distance from the nucleus will also increase, hence the radius is also going to increase. Then we had written about energy. Energy we had written 2.18 minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18, okay, and joules per atom, or I had told you can write minus, so one more thing was there, upon n square. And energy can also be written as 1312 upon n square in kilojoules per mole, not in atom. Both time when we had written energy, we had put a minus sign here. Okay, this was our point. Now we have to start with this point, that why there is negative sign with the energies. Now for this we have to understand that when there is a nucleus has proton plus neutron inside it. Now when we have discussed this thing also, that a nucleus, because of its positive charge, has an influence till a certain distance, and this distance will be different for each particular atom because of its different size. So if an electron is beyond this, outside this sphere, till where the positive charge spreads is its electric field. If an electron is beyond this, that time that this electron is at rest, it is not attracted by this proton, and the energy of this electron is considered to be zero. It is at rest and its energy is zero. Now suppose this electron comes in the influence of the attraction of this proton. Now it slowly, because it is under the influence of it, it slowly gets closer and closer like this. So when electron will get closer because of the attraction, what will happen? This we are talking about any external electron. Inside the atom already there are protons and electrons. Suppose external electron is attracted, we are understanding with the help of that. So what will happen? Initially its energy was zero. Now when it is coming closer and closer and closer, then what is happening? When it is getting attracted, then energy is released. Whenever there is formation of some attractive bond between opposite charges, energy always is released. So when it is getting closer and closer, energy is released. So from zero, its energy is becoming less. That is why when the electron is nearest to the nucleus, that time it is having highest negative value. That means least energy. Highest negative value means it is having least energy. From 0 to negative it is going, and here nearest to the nucleus it will have highest negative value, or you can say least energy. Okay. So because of this reason, the energy for the first orbit of hydrogen atom is minus 1312 upon n square kilojoules per mole. As this n increases, okay, n increases means this n value becomes 2. So what will happen? This negative value will decrease, and we know that when value in negative has less numerical value, that means it is actually a higher value. Minus 1312 is more negative value. Then suppose the next energy value suppose comes to minus 900. So minus 900 is more than minus 1312. So gradually the energy increases from as we move from n is equal to 1 to n is equal to more distance. Okay. And finally the energy becomes zero when it is out of the influence of the particular atom. So that is why the energy of electrons are always given in negative. Okay. Now in Bohr's model, we said that Bohr's model is for hydrogen and hydrogen-like species. So if it is for hydrogen, what formula for radius we had written was R 52.9 n square, where n is the number of orbit. If this radius we have to find for any other hydrogen like species. Yesterday I told you hydrogen like species means He 1 positive, lithium 2 positive, that those who are which are having one electron in their orbit. So for such species, if we have to calculate radius, this is the formula for hydrogen atom, then it will be 52.9 n square upon Z, where Z is atomic number of particular atom or hydrogen like species, because this Z will be different for helium, lithium, and for hydrogen this Z value is 1, atomic number is 1. So this is the formula if we have to calculate it for any other atom other than hydrogen. Similarly, for energy we have E is equal to minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 joules per atom, and upon we had written n square. So if we have to calculate it for helium and lithium also, then what will happen? Then it will be multiplied with Z square. So these are the formulas when we have to calculate the values for hydrogen like species. And Z is not placed because Z is 1 for hydrogen for other than all these. For hydrogen only we will not keep Z. Okay, so this is about your Bohr's model. All the points of Bohr's model now we have covered. Now when all points of Bohr's model we have covered, then now what is there? Bohr's model was based on particle nature. These were the points of Bohr's model. Still, there were certain drawbacks in the Bohr's model. What were those drawbacks? So that we had to go to another model which is known as quantum mechanical model of atom, which is now accepted. Okay, whatever model, maybe in future some other model comes, because these all things are assumed by scientists. None of us has seen them in real, that actually these things are there. So theories are always imagination, always hypothesis. In time to come they may be true, in time to come they may not be true. But till then a new theory is considered. Those theories which are already existing are considered correct, because suppose till quantum mechanical model of atom was not given, before that Bohr model was the final model which all were considering correct. But as that model came into existence, that become the previous model and the new model came into existence. So this is always with science, that it will keep on changing with the new theories coming. Okay. So now what were the drawbacks with Bohr's model which led to this new model to come into existence? So the first point, so we will write drawbacks. Drawbacks of Bohr's model. Okay. Now the first drawback of Bohr's model was that it cannot explain the spectra of multi-electron atoms. It was only for hydrogen atom. It cannot explain spectra of multi-electron atoms. Okay. Second important point of drawback was that in hydrogen spectrum, when we saw a fixed set of lines, spectral lines, which were coming in Lyman series, Balmer series, and Brackett-Fund series. Okay, but when these radiations or these light radiations, when they were made to fall on sample of hydrogen atom, they just produce hydrogen spectrum, which was having 5 series of spectral lines. But when the same radiation which was falling on hydrogen atom was passed through electric field and was exposed to magnetic field, then instead of these patterns which we have observed yesterday, the model of hydrogen spectrum which we have seen, according to that there were 5 group of spectral lines. But when the radiations which were falling on it, means suppose the radiation which was coming from any source of light, those were exposed to these radiations, either magnetic field or electric field, external. Then when they fall on sample of hydrogen atom and then spectrum was produced, then instead, this is photographic plate. So when this spectrum was produced, so instead of having only 5 spectral lines with group of lines which we have observed yesterday, along with that fine lines were also observed in between, many fine lines. So the Bohr's model could not give explanation for these fine splitting of lines which were present along with the main lines which we had seen yesterday. So this is called as splitting of the spectral lines, more fine lines in between. Already there were so many lines, and when they were exposed to magnetic or electric field, further splitting of these lines were taking place. So this model could not explain why these splitting are taking place. Okay, so that splitting in electric field and splitting in magnetic field, in electric field splitting is known as Stark effect. In magnetic field splitting is known as Zeeman effect. So in single sentence we can say that Bohr's model could not explain Stark effect and Zeeman effect of spectral lines. The meaning of which is that the further splitting of spectral lines when the source of energy is exposed to external magnetic or electric field. Okay. So this is one of the drawbacks, that it could not explain Zeeman effect and Stark effect. Third point was that what about angular momentum was told by Bohr, that the angular momentum of electron is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So he gave it theoretical, but he could not explain it, that why that statement has been given. So these were few points on the basis of which these were the drawbacks considered. So now, because these were drawbacks, some new thing has to be added to postulate a new model for atoms. Now, what after this? Till now, we had known these many things, that the radiation or the radiant energy which is coming is having both nature, wave nature as well as particle nature. Okay, and these radiations are actually known as electromagnetic radiations, and these are having electromagnetic wave nature because they have electric and magnetic field associated with them. Now, after these things, a scientist named as D. Broglie gave a new concept and a new idea that not only radiations or energies are having dual nature. Already it was proved that radiant energy has dual nature. This was already proved, okay, by the various experiments which we have seen, photoelectric effect, black body radiation, they prove that radiant energy coming from source of any light, natural light or artificial light, has dual nature, wave nature as well as particle nature. Wave nature is proved by wave phenomenon like interference and diffraction, and particle nature is proved by quantum or packet, the energy distributed in the form of packets by discontinuous nature observed in the spectrum of hydrogen atom. Now, de Broglie scientist told that not only radiant energy has dual nature, but he said that all matter particles. Matter particles means what? Anything that has mass and occupies space. Matter particles, macroscopic as well as microscopic, has dual nature. He said this thing, that as along with radiation energy, radiant energy, matter particles also have dual nature. Maybe they are visible to us, that is macroscopic. Maybe they are not visible to us, like electron, proton, these are not visible to us. But these microscopic these microscopic particles also have dual nature, that means wave nature as well as particle nature. Okay. To correlate the dual nature known as de Broglie equation. So now we will see that how de Broglie equation was derived. De Broglie equation is for matter particles. Okay. So now we have to remember that E is equal to h nu. This equation was given by Planck for particle nature of radiations. So de Broglie used this equation, E is equal to h nu, where E is the energy, h is the Planck's constant and nu is the frequency. To consider the particle nature, also he used the equation E is equal to mc square. This equation is Einstein equation, which says that energy is gradually converted into mass. So he used these two equations, E is equal to h nu from Planck's equation and E is equal to mc square from Einstein's equation. He combined this equation with this Planck's equation was only for particle nature. Okay. He combined this equation with E is equal to h, C is equal to nu lambda. This equation is wave nature. This equation is for wave nature of radiations. C is equal to nu lambda. So in place of nu, we can write C upon lambda. So E is equal to h into C upon lambda. So he converted this equation into combination of the two. This is wave nature, this is particle nature. So he gave E is equal to h C upon lambda. And another equation which he used, that energy is also gradually converted into mass, that is E is equal to mc square. Now this is equation number 1, this is equation number 2. Equating both, because both are related by energy. So it will be h C upon lambda is equal to mc square, where c is the velocity of light. Now c, okay, then we can write h is left, h is equal to m this lambda taken here and mc brought here, so it will be lambda h upon m into c. Okay. Now this m into c, this c is the velocity of light, because now we are doing this equation for matter particles and matter particles cannot travel with the speed of light. only radiation energy or radiant energy travels with the speed of light. So this C can be written as V, velocity of matter particles. So now in the next step, this lambda is equal to H upon M into V. This lambda is equal to H upon M into C. Now written H upon M into V for matter particles. Okay, now this lambda is equal to H, mass into velocity, is actually known as P or momentum. Okay, so the de Broglie's relationship or equation is lambda is equal to H upon P, where H is Planck's constant, lambda is the wavelength, P is the momentum. Now this is known as de Broglie equation, which relates lambda is associated with wave nature and mass is always associated with particle nature. Okay, some matter particle. So this equation relates wave as well as particle nature of matter particles. Now this equation is not for radiant energy, this equation is for matter particles. Okay, so now we have two equations, the previous one, this one and this one. These two equations were for electromagnetic waves, that means for radiant energy. This equation, de Broglie equation, is for matter particles, showing their wave as well as particle nature. Okay, so whenever we have to do calculations in question, we have to read whether they are asking the wavelength. Suppose they are asking for wavelength, so which equation to use? Wavelength can be found with this equation also, wavelength can be found with this equation also. Okay, if energy is given to you, then both you can use any of the equations. So you have to read the question that they are asking for matter wave. If electron, proton, such things are given in question, that means you have to find the wavelength using this formula, because you have to calculate for matter particle. And if they are asking for any radiation, any color radiation, then you have to calculate wavelength using this formula or this formula. Okay, so this is the point of difference between these are matter waves, the formula is for matter waves, and this formula is for electromagnetic waves or radiation waves. Okay, so these two differ, but the nature for both has been detected same. So now according to de Broglie's concept, it is clear that matter particles also have both type of nature, dual nature. Now the equation which we had recently written, de Broglie's equation, lambda is equal to H upon P or M into V also we can write. Okay, now what de Broglie told, that all matter particles, whether macroscopic or microscopic, both, whether macroscopic or microscopic. For example, if we talk about a ball, so ball is macroscopic, visible to you, so it also has dual nature. He said that it also has wave nature as well as particle nature. But according to this relationship, if we see here, you will see that these two things are inversely related. Wavelength is the wave nature, mass is related to the particle nature. So any object which has more of wave nature will have less of particle nature. Any object which has more of particle nature will have less of wave nature. Okay, so there is inverse relationship. One conclusion from this equation is this, that any object or any matter particle, whatever is more, the other nature will be little diminished because of the prominent effect of one character. This is more, this will be less. If this is more, this will be less. Now, what is actually the importance of this de Broglie relationship for macroscopic particles? This he tried to find out. So what he did, he took this equation for electron, when we are using this to find out the wavelength of an electron, we are using this equation, then H and mass of electron will be placed here. Okay, 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. And velocity, suppose both of them, electron and a ball, both are moving with same velocity, so H is constant, V is also constant, means same for both, and mass we are keeping for 31 kg. Okay, mass of electron is this. If we have to calculate wave nature, that is lambda is the wavelength, so wave nature of a ball, then H upon, suppose the mass of ball is 100 grams, so 0.1 kg. Okay, into V is same, both are traveling with the same velocity. So we can see that this value of mass is very low, very low. So the wavelength value will come high definitely, because this and this are same, only this thing we are comparing to this thing. Because this value is low, that means the denominator value is low, then the final answer will come higher. In this case you can see that the denominator is having high value, minus 31. Okay, power, there is no power here, so this value is going to come very low. What does this suggest? More is the mass of object, less is the wave character, and it is too low. This whatever wavelength we will obtain here for a ball, that will not come in the order of the wavelength of any of the spectrum of light. We have many radiations in the spectrum of light, ranging from cosmic rays to till the end radio waves. So none of these wavelength of those radiations fall in the order, it is too low. So until it comes in the range of the light order of the visible spectrum or the total spectrum of light, we cannot measure anything. Any wavelength can be measured only when it comes in the range of the wavelength provided for the complete electromagnetic radiation. So this value is coming too low that it cannot be measured. This value is coming high that it falls in the range of electromagnetic spectrum. So this can be measured. So that means what? Wave character for microscopic particles is prominent and has some significance, but wave character for macroscopic particles has no significance. That is why we can say that it is true that all matter particles have dual character, but it has significance only for microscopic particles and not for macroscopic particles, because their mass is too high, and because of that their wave nature becomes insignificant. Okay, so only we have to remember one line, that it is true that dual nature for matter also exists, but it is valid only for microscopic particles, not for macroscopic particles. Reason we have understood here. Okay. Now this was by one scientist, that is de Broglie. Now one more scientist. These all are the things which are leading for the formulation of new models. So one thing was this. Now according to this, electron has dual nature. Okay. Now the next thing which another scientist gave was Heisenberg. Okay. Another scientist Heisenberg gave another statement which is known as Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Heisenberg uncertainty principle. What this said? He said that it is impossible to find with accuracy simultaneously. Again, it is impossible to find accurately simultaneously both the things. What both the things? Position as well as velocity or momentum, because mass is constant, so product m into v That means we are talking about velocity or momentum. He said that it is impossible to find with accuracy both the things simultaneously, position as well as velocity of a moving electron, or you can say moving microscopic particle, because we are concerned mainly with electrons, so we are writing here electron, or a moving microscopic particle. This was his rule, which again led to the failure of the Bohr's model and coming into existence the new model. So what was the reason why he said like this? This we have to understand. One thing we have to remember, that statement what he has given, mathematically this statement is written as product of change in position into change in momentum is equal to or greater than h upon 4 pi. This is mathematical, okay? The meaning of this is here, what we have written. So mathematically it was written like this. So delta x into m delta v, because m is constant, whatever will change is only velocity, is h upon 4 pi, or we can write this m here and write 4 pi m. So this is the final mathematical expression for Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Okay. The meaning of which is position as well as velocity or momentum of a moving microscopic particles cannot be measured with accuracy at the same time, simultaneously. Both the things together cannot be measured accurately. We can measure them one by one but not together with accuracy. Now why it was said like this by him, this we have to see. Now if we want to know the position of any object, suppose this is nucleus and electron is present around the nucleus in orbit. Till now the orbit concept was existing. So if we have to see any object, any particle is to be seen, then we have to illuminate it. Means we have to throw light on it. Then only it will be visible. When you are throwing light on it, that means this light, because it has energy, so it will be having frequency and wavelength, because light has particle nature as well as wave nature, so it will be having frequency. Frequency means high energy, more frequency means more energy. Okay, so if you are throwing light on this, then it will be means it will be having some energy of the light and some wavelength of that particular color of light which you are using. Now you have illuminated it to observe its position. What we want to see is its position. Now its position as well as second thing is its velocity. Now what will happen when you are throwing light on it? Because electron is very very small, so always it is like this. If a small object has to be seen or it has to be observed, then the wavelength of the light radiation required should also be less. Then only small particle can be observed. If you want to observe a big particle, then you have to use a wavelength of higher wavelength or lower wavelength also can find out, but for compulsorily for small size objects it is necessary that the wavelength of the light used should be of small range so that it can observe it. If a big wave is used to observe it, because it is very big, so it will not fall in the path of that light. You can understand it, because the nature of radiation is wave nature. So because of that, because the wavelength is big, so it will not fall in the object which you are observing will not fall in the path of it and it will not be observed. So for that reason we have to use here a light radiation which is of less wavelength. Okay. Now if we are using less wavelength, we know that C is equal to nu lambda. That means we can write C upon lambda is equal to nu. So if wavelength is less, frequency is more, because they are oppositely or inversely related. So if wavelength is less, nu is more, that means energy is more. So the radiation which we are using to observe this electron, because electron is very, very small, so we are using a smaller wavelength radiation for it. When wavelength is small, the energy becomes very high. Because of the high energy, this electron will dislocate from its place, because it is very light when the very small. So when light strikes it will be shifted from its position. So you will not be able to observe its position because it has shifted from the place. Okay. Again, if you try to observe it, now because a smaller wavelength is having more energy, so it is displacing it from its position, so you are not able to measure its position exactly. Now second thing, if you use a bigger wavelength, then what will happen? Bigger wavelength will have less energy, so you can measure its means it will not move from its place, so you can observe it. But what will happen? You can observe its velocity, but because of its larger wavelength, you are not able to measure the position of that electron. So in both the cases, the opposite thing is happening. In this case, when the longer or the bigger wavelength is used, then you are able to measure the velocity of it, but you are not able to measure its position. You are not knowing its position. In the other case, what is happening? Because of its smaller size of the wavelength, energy is high, so you are able to observe its position, but its velocity is changing, so you are not able to observe its velocity. So that is why at the same time both the things is not possible to measure with accuracy. This was Heisenberg's uncertainty principle.